I don't have any coffee. I need to work on coffee. But we're going to start this video by talking first about the community. Now, a lot of these games right here, they're kind of all over the place, but this is kind of nice because before it was just a straight losing streaks while I was trying to adjust. I finally realized just to ignore the rest of the people on my team. And that's not a great thing for this game. I'm trying to get into a little bit more ranked. But you have to understand, the problem with this game doesn't start with the character balance. It starts with the community first. Because the community is divided into three things. I no longer am a part of any of the Paladins community pages and forums and shit like that. I can't be bothered to deal with that. Because they're all the same few people at the top that dominate, that tell everyone else that their metas, whatever they run, is shit. And that's the problem with this game. Everyone has, myself included, I'm 100% fair on this, everyone thinks they have their own way to make this game work, and the devs continue to have no way to punish people in this game. I would not be afraid of taking a punishment if I did stupid shit in-game. That's fine. But the fact of the matter is, I want to know who's judging that. Because, you know, if we get into a game where we need a healer in a ranked game, and you decide to pick a DPS, or we get into a game, you insta-lock, you and your partner at the top of the queue insta-lock DPS, and then demand the rest of the team pick 2 tank and a support, or they're going to throw, well, that's an issue. I'm not even getting into the balance changes yet. But, just as a heads up, this community is getting a lot more toxic, and it's heading towards Overwatch levels, where our community is more known for the memes of toxic online Overwatch. Like, if you go look up Overwatch, usually one of the first 5 videos that's going to pop up is going to be toxic blank versus toxic blank, you know, stuff like that. So let's get into the nitty-gritty of this. Let's get into the balance changes. I'm not covering everything. I just want to talk about why I don't like how their meta is going. So this was the big tank support nerf. Most of the supports had their healing values nerfed slightly, their cooldowns were decreased slightly, and their cards were changed. Now, tanks received a similar treatment. Most of their shield and deployable values dropped because the Wrecker got dropped and Cauterize for supports got dropped. Most of their damage got dropped. And they reworked some of the cards to rework them. And because of things like Nimble getting buffed, it changed how most of the characters play. Here's the problem that I have with this, okay? Most of the damage characters didn't get changed. Most of your flanks either got some quality of life changes, we're talking about you, Eevee, and Talus, or they got complete reworks. Most of your damages didn't really get touched. They got buffs for the most part. Very few got nerfs, or what I would consider to be a nerf. And what I warned people about, like if you kept abusing these talents and you kept overusing these talents, they were going to get nerfed, mostly on the tank side, which I find funny. Storm of Bullets Khan got nerfed. Well, and his damage got nerfed. Because of that, I warned people, use some of his other talents, but because they want to play him like a DPS instead of a tank, their DPS talent got nerfed. Now you still have people trying to run Storm of Bullets, and it's not nearly effective enough. There you go. I kept warning people not to abuse some of Makoa's shit, which we'll cover him more. I warned people on Barrack not to abuse Tinkering. Use Fortify. It's better for your sustain. Nope, they didn't want to listen. We warned people not to abuse Battering Ram. Use Fortress Breaker. Give yourself some more sustain. Nope, it gets nerfed. We warned people on Atlas. Stop trying to play him as a flank. He's gonna get nerfed. His damage gets hit hard. Now he feels really clunky and hard and unsatisfying to play. Same thing with some of the supports. Some of the supports got good buffs. Some of the supports got some nerfs, but I'm not really covering them. Most people like to spam Grover and Furia. I think Furia still has solid state, but Grover feels really weak to me. You know, and a lot of the changes in the flank category are mixed. Warned people about this, and they didn't listen. So now let's cover a couple of things, because this game is going to an Overwatch meta. We're seeing Overwatch, there's Roadhog and Soldier, so if your healer doesn't do their job, you can still pick one of them, and you can get healing at least to yourself, or in some cases to the rest of your team, if you feel like your support's not doing an adequate job. Well, Paladins hasn't really had this issue. They have Kill to Heal, they have Life Rip, they have stuff in their loadouts. Now they're going away from that. Now it's like, well, we want the supports to play more light damages, so, now you have Khan who can heal, you have Rom who can heal, you have Torvald who can heal, you have Sky who can heal, and you have Moji who can heal. You now have 5 people who are capable of healing their team instead of 2. And I don't like that. Because now the issue is Moji and Sky are pretty much dedicated to being healers. Torvald has to have that card in his loadout to make him viable now. So you have 3 characters that have still been shoehorned into being almost a healer. And it's like, I haven't played Moji in 6 months, and I'm going to have to play Moji and test out her healing cards today. Everyone knows I'm a Moji main. And I have not played her since I got her up to 58. But I'm going to have to try her to try out Snack Pack and 2. I don't like that, though. I don't like that they've changed her into being... First they changed her from being a tank melter to a flank. Then they changed her from being a constant DPS to a burst DPS. Now they've changed her from being basically a flank to a point support. I don't like that. Her constant shifting of meta is annoying. If they were going to do this, they should have just reworked Boom Boom into a healing talent and moved her into the support category then. Nerf her damage, move her into support, and just be done with it like they said they were going to a while ago. And I would have less of a problem with it than the current state that they've left her, where she's a burst damage, she has no way to fucking heal herself, all she can do is quickly burn through people. She just quickly burns through people, she gets blown up, she dies, she goes back to spawn, or she heals people and does like no damage. It's annoying. Zin had most of his good loadout cards taken away. There's about, if you notice, if you look at all my builds, you see how like the same 3 cards are in there. Some are just at different values, and then there's a few others. Yeah, that's how Zin builds work now. He got a nice quality of life buff, but they really hurt the rest of his kit. Sky got reworked into a fucking support, because no one runs her without Smoke and Dagger. Now, yes, there is a Battle Pass challenge for Smoke and Dagger, for healing on that, but I don't see Debilitate Skies, and she's still the best in the flank category for melting tanks. You don't see that, though. You see her as a support, and everyone's like, Sky is meta now because they made her into a support. No. She's always been meta because she was able to quickly burst down high HP champions, and tanks ruled the game. But because they don't want tanks to be ruling the game, they want tanks to be flanks, they want them to be aggressive now. It makes Sky, being the counter to them, counterintuitive. Talos didn't really get reworked. Andro got a decent buff with the extra ammo. I think that helps. Lex didn't really get anything. Buck, I'm surprised he didn't get nerfed because of the nerf to Cauterize, but he's pretty decent. Maeve is still pretty decent, even though she's a annoying as hell cheat character. Koga, for whatever reason, they are continuing to buff Koga and think that Koga is this poor damsel in distress that needs all this help when he doesn't. He needs to get a fucking nerf into the ground. Eevee got a quality of life buff. Look at most of your damages. Tyra, they nerfed her Firebomb, and then they kind of fixed her weapon. They nerfed her damage, they gave her more ammo, and they improved her spread at long range. The nerf to the damage and the buff to the ammo cancel each other out. So forget about that. But having the increased damage output at longer ranges, the reduced spread and the reduced damage fall off, makes her feel more comfortable. It's like before, you would miss half of your shots at long range, and you deal about 85, 90 a shot with the old damage. Now you're dealing about 85, 90 a shot because there's less damage fall off, and you're hitting more of those shots. So I'll take it. Victor got cardio nerfed, but he got cardio and hustle nerfed, but he got, what's that thing called there? They got a grenade card buffed on him, which is nice. Fuck you, cardio Victor. Vivian got more than one way to play. Most people play her Opportunity in Chaos. I play her Booby Trap. Now she has a shield card. She can kind of be a pseudo tank. I like that. Amani got some more quality of life changes. Kinessa got quality of life change. Strix got a nerf, but it's not really enough. He's still pretty freaking powerful. I mean, they just nerfed the pistol build on him, so he's not as oppressive for flanks to go up against. Willow got a nerf. Shaolin got kind of a buff and a nerf. Cassie got a nerf. Not really a lot of nerfs in the damage category, which is the funny part, except the ones that they've been trying to kill, similar to tanks and supports. Support, I'll cover first. Support feels really bad to play. It's improving a bit more as more people are, like, learning how to work around them, but it feels really bad. So they nerf Cauterize. Great, that should make healers better. It doesn't. First off, most of the supports received a nerf to their healing values. Grover did, Genos did, Furia did, Ceres did, Ying did, Pip did, Io did. The only two that didn't get changed was Grok, and the only one that got buffed was Damba. So, let's start with that. Cooldowns that got reduced. Grover did, Genos did, Furia did, Ceres did, and that's it. And yet, Pip feels better than ever to play. Why? Well, because Cauterize got nerfed, and that was Pip's always biggest problem, was that he could not get enough healing out to keep his team alive. Now he can. Pip is beast. I'm running Pip a lot. I waited for this patch to come out to start working for Golden Pip. I'm so glad, because it feels so good playing Pip now with Cauterize nerf. The problem is the rest of the supports really feel kind of clunky. Most people still play Grok as a damage and Pip as a damage. Genos has been essentially reworked into a damage. Ceres plays more like a damage now. Ying is very awkward to heal with Life Exchange, and her other talents are just damage talents. Fury is able to do a lot of healing with Solar Blessing and Cherish, but the difference is no one wants to sit in the beam. The problem with the support category is Grok, Damba, Grover, Solar Beam Furia, Ying, and Io. You need to be close to wherever they or what they're deploying for you to heal is in order to get a heal. And no one does that anymore because they want this game to be more mobile. They want this game to be flank, push, aggressive, kill, everything. The meta healers right now, for me, are going to be Genos, Furia, and Pip. Because they're the healers that heal with Cherish Furia, with Genos through walls, with Pip being able to control between combat medic and then being able to control his healing potion. They have ranged healing. And Ceres, even though you need line of sight on her. They are the best for ranged healing, and they're going to dominate. And if they've been trying to get some of the weaker supports into the meta, it's not working. The only one that really benefits is Pip, but then that's my personal opinion. And it doesn't help that most of the damage numbers on the supports didn't change. Catalyst Pip is still oppressive. Focusing Lens Ying still deals a fuck ton of damage. You still see Resonance Yings out there as well. Ceres, you're going to see more people playing her as a damage with Soul Collector and Agony, because Mortal Reach isn't that great. And her damage by default isn't that great, so adding the extra damage makes her feel better. Furia, you're not seeing too much in Exterminate Furia. You're not seeing too much damage Furia. She's your main heal. Genos has always been a damage dealer. He still remains a damage dealer. I don't see a lot of Luminaries either, which doesn't help. Grover, the way you should be playing him is a Ferocity and Adrenaline in your loadout. And combo higher DPS with more healing. But you're not seeing people do that. Damba, you're not going to see a lot of DPS unless he's a second support with the stun. Grok, people still play him as a fucking DPS. And Io has never been a healer, which means she's just a DPS and a chuck dog on point. The issue with all this is that these characters are not main healers. There's no more main healer in this game, and there's no more main tank, which I disagree with. That shifts us over to tank. So, you know, everyone would always say, like, the main tanks were Anara and Barrack, and everyone else was either an off tank or a 2 tank. And I disagreed with that statement. Well, I said that pretty much everyone except for Torvald, Ruckus, and Rom could be a solo tank. Now, anyone can be a solo tank. They nerfed Cauterize, which was Rom's biggest weakness, was that he just gets blown up instantly. He still can get blown up instantly, but he has more ways to work around it. Well, they nerfed Atlas's damage, so he's pretty much only useful now for the shield and the rewind. His damage is important. Ashe is a knockback character. She always has been. She still retains that. Before, she was able to do a decent amount of damage and just pink away with high Cauterize and try and keep the other enemy team from healing. With Cauterize not being as effective, it means Ashe isn't as effective. You know, Inara didn't really get too many changes, but you see everyone running Cripple now because Resilience is less effective and Bulldoze is less effective, so it makes Inara more oppressive to go against. Kong got nerfed to damage and Storm of Bullets, so a character with a flimsy shield to begin with, which, yes, they nerfed Wrecker, but the shield is still kind of flimsy. He doesn't have a great deal of mobility. He has some mobility, but that's not a lot. Nando's been kicked into the dirt and buried, in my opinion. Like, there's no real way to play him to bring back Looks Will Kill. Looks Will Kill was such a mainstay for Fernando's to keep their DPS up, and because they wanted to bring back Flank Nando, they got Flank Nando, but now you've lost most of his damage. You actually have to sit there and fucking pulse your goddamn R2, which you shouldn't have to do. Torvald, he can solo tank. It's rough, but he can do it. He's been changed into a glorified support. He got a buff even though he's a similar character. Even though they directly nerfed him and Ruckus and Pip, they directly nerfed them, but because they nerfed the biggest problem with that character, which was Wrecker or Caught, he's now playable as a solo tank, and he feels better than ever to play. People say he's oppressive. He's not. He's fairly balanced out. Terminus is really weak in my opinion. He requires a good healer in order to play. He's already a close-range bully character who has lost the ability to sustain himself. Unless you run fucking Decimation, and you run Abomination, and you just sit there and fucking siphon ping 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 back in your face, which is really stupid. It negates the whole thing of bullying getting up in people's faces. Makoa we're not even going to talk about. Makoa got killed. They nerfed the health of his shield. Why couldn't they... If Makoa was so powerful, and this is my issue with the community, Makoa was so powerful, according to the people that Hi-Res now listens to on balance, why didn't they give him a similar treatment to Ashe? Ashe is another character that you saw on high level every now and then, because she was a good bully-style tank. She could hold her own, and she was able to bully for a good amount of damage. So what did they do to Ashe? Well, they nerfed Battering Ram, they nerfed her damage, they nerfed her shield, they nerfed her Fortress Breaker slightly, but I'm not counting it because it wasn't a big enough nerf. That's what they did to her. Okay, 3 changes. They buffed her loadout cards. They reduced the cooldown of her shoulder bash by 1 second. Okay? That's a pretty fair trade. They nerfed Battering Ram, but you have it up more. They nerfed her damage, but there's nothing you can really do about that. They nerfed her shield card, but there's things you can do about with the loadout. Here's what they did for Makoa. Alright? They nerfed the base damage of his weapon. They gave him an extra ammo. They nerfed his legendary cards, pretty much. They buffed Pluck, but because they nerfed his base damage, it doesn't matter. They gave CC inbuilt on his kit. They nerfed his shield. They nerfed Half Shell. They nerfed his loadout cards. They nerfed the cooldown of his hook. All of these changes don't offset giving Leviathan base kit to justify. I think that's the issue. They made Leviathan base kit on Makoa, so now, hey, well, now you don't have to spam Leviathan every single game now, so we're just going to completely gut the rest of the character out and make him an ult machine. He is now the literal definition of a diva, where he is only there for his ult. Makoa is the diva of this game now. Barrack, he got some nerfs to his sustain, but he still is very strong if you know how to play him. Problem is, most people play him with fucking Tinkering as a goddamn sniper, and now they've switched to Air Tectonics with the stupid turrets, rather than just running Fortify and being able to keep their team alive longer. You got Ruckus, who, he got some nice quality of life changes, but the big thing that made him viable was the nerf to Wrecker. They didn't take too much away from his shield, they didn't take too much away from Flux Gen, so it means if you can actually run Flux Generator now and not worry about being blown up in 5 seconds most of the time. So, I don't know. This game is going to an Overwatch meta. Support and tank do not feel fun to play, and yet DPS, your damage and supports, feels better than ever, because you have an easier time killing the tanks and supports. Which, if you're a tank support player like myself, is an issue. Because if you need to reliably play that position, too bad, you're shit out of luck. You're not getting that. So, thank you for watching. I hope this has been helpful and not just a rant.